خالفتم أقوال الشيوخ فأنتم.
All right, nice, man. So are you here to speak about the topic of the live stream?
Well, to be honest, I am a Christian, but
Uh-huh.
the beef which I have, which you just mentioned, is your belief and the Quran claim that it appeared to be that it was Jesus that was crucified, but in reality, it wasn't Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So I strongly question this narrative, and I think it goes into the core of the two beliefs. That means if Islam is true and it wasn't indeed Jesus that was crucified, then Christianity is false and my belief is null and void, because then Jesus didn't die on the cross for my sins and he did not resurrect. Now,
Right.
on the other hand, if my belief is true and it was indeed Jesus that was crucified and
Mhm.
resurrected the third day, then Islam is false, and we are indeed saved through
No.
Christ's sacrifice.
Nope. That's a non sequitur.
Well, if we take that it was in fact
Just
the
be,
case
just wait,
that
just wait.
he did resurrect,
Just
then
because Islam is listen, brother. Just because Islam is false, it doesn't then follow that Christianity is true. I think that's
okay.
what you're trying to say there. So no, that's
So,
a non sequitur. It doesn't follow. Okay. So yes, if Jesus was crucified and resurrected, then Islam would be false, but Christianity wouldn't be necessarily true.
well, I would say if Christ had the power to resurrect, then
Yeah.
this would be indeed a godly attribute, and it would
No,
also
it wouldn't.
confirm basically all the miracles which are reported in the
Yeah,
New Testament.
it would confirm his divine origin as being sent from God. It wouldn't prove the dogmas of Christianity. What kind of Christian are you?
I'm an evangelical Christian, and I'm
You're
a
even. All
Trinitarian.
right, nice. So I'm assuming that you want to argue like the Shroud of Turin or something, right?
Well, if you heard me before, then you probably know
No,
that I am.
I just took a guess. I've never seen you before, man. No.
Okay. Well, I mean, I have written books on the Shroud of Turin, and I think it is indeed the empirical link which corroborates the historical events reported in the New Testament.
So are you making a deductive case or an inductive case?
Well, I make a case of inference of the best explanation.
Inference to the best possible. So you're not making a deductive case then.
No.
Okay, nice. So watch this. Even if I were to grant you the shroud, and even if I were to grant you that it dates back to the 1st century, and even if I can grant you that it cannot be replicated somehow, then there's a mystery around it. It does not follow that it belongs to Jesus Christ. Do you agree?
No, I don't agree. If we take everything that
They're
we
making a
see,
deductive case then, not an inductive one.
no. I mean, I'm making an inference to the best explanation. And
Right. But
if we don't have any net explanation whatsoever how a forger in the Middle Ages or even earlier could have made the imprint of the shroud. And even today, we cannot replicate it. Even with the modern technology, we cannot do it. Then I think it is logical and plausible if we take all the evidence which the shroud provides us together and analyze it. It is plausible to come to the conclusion that it is most likely authentic.
good.
And the burial cloth
So
of
you
Jesus.
notice how you backtracked on your answer now? I asked you, if granted what you just presented, does it follow that it necessarily belongs to Christ?
No, it doesn't.
Good. So it could be the case that this dates back to the 1st century, that this has some kind of mysterious nature around it. Okay, that maybe it even belongs to a Jewish man, but it doesn't follow necessarily from this evidence that you'll provide that it belongs to Christ. Good, good. So now I believe that I have a better possible explanation given everything we know about the historical Christ and everything we know about the Quran, and in contrast together, everything we know about the early church, all the dogmas of the early church, the dogmas that Nicaea later adopted, the 7 ecumenical councils that the Orthodox and the Catholics agree on. I could make a better case, a better inference to the best possible explanation that no, Christianity is necessarily false.
Well, I've never seen anyone doing it, so you would be the first.
Okay, well, nice. Let's start. Do you believe that beside the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ being a pillar of Christianity, as Paul says, that without it our faith would be in vain, do you believe that another pillar and tenet of Christianity is the Trinity, as substantiated and clarified by Nicaea and the other ecumenical councils?
Yeah, I think that the Trinity is certainly a very fascinating topic, which I've seen you recently debating it with other Christians. And I grant you that understanding how there can be 3 persons and 1 essence is a very difficult to grasp concept.
Well,
But
I'm not arguing that. Just wait. Don't assume what I'm arguing. I'm not arguing whether it's difficult to grasp or not. All I asked you is this: if the Trinity is false, therefore Christianity. Sorry?
Yeah, I was just responding to my wife. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. So, if Christianity is false, if the Trinity is not taught in the first 300 years of the church, it follows that the best possible explanation that Jesus did not teach a Trinity and hence Christianity is false.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that this topic is relevant
Well, it's very
to the historical question if Jesus indeed was crucified and if he did resurrect.
Well, I'm not here to argue that, though. I'm here to argue the truthfulness of Christianity and the truthfulness of Islam. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm not here.
I am focusing more on the question: which of the narratives are true? If it is true that Jesus was not crucified,
I already told you.
Indeed, if he did.
Yeah, I already told you. You could present a very good case, all right, and use the inference to the best possible explanation. Okay, that on its own, okay, you can make a good argument. However, that on its own does not necessitate Christianity. Okay, that on its own does not prove Christianity to be true. So what is more important is to focus on the things that do prove Christianity to be true or false. For example, right? And I already told you, if the shroud belongs to Christ, and if he died, and if he resurrected, do you agree that doesn't necessitate Christian dogma?
Yes, I agree.
Good. So then it is not important to discuss that in a religious conversation. What is important to discuss is that which negates the truth of Christianity or negates the truth. Okay. Truth negates the truth of Christianity. So, and this panel is to defend Christianity. So can you please show me, because you agreed if nobody taught the Trinity in the first 300 years, then it follows the best possible explanation is that Jesus and the apostles and the early church didn't teach the Christian God. So do you have any examples of anybody before Nicaea teaching the Christian God as we understand it today?
I've not studied the topic, so I don't know really. Okay. Now, what I am more concerned about the whole debate and discussion here is that I strongly believe that all evidence points to the authenticity of the shroud, that Jesus indeed was crucified and did resurrect, and that therefore
That doesn't
Islam
prove,
and its claim is false.
but that doesn't
This
prove
is,
Christianity, though.
well, first of all, I am not claiming to have proofs that Christianity is
But here,
true.
this live
I
is about
hope
defending Christianity.
well, but defending Christianity doesn't mean that I need to prove anything to you, in the
Okay,
same sense that you cannot prove to me that indeed there was a case where Archangel Gabriel came
of course I
uh,
can.
to that place and teach what is written in the
Of
Quran
course I can. I can make an
to Muhammad.
inductive case for that. I don't need a
Well,
deductive
first
case
of
for that. I
all,
can make an inductive case for that.
I've talked to several Muslim apologists like you,
You haven't
and
talked to me though.
and all of them, they have basically just made a confession of blind faith.
Okay, well, you haven't talked to me, and I certainly don't have any blind faith. But let's see if you have any blind faith. You said that you're not aware of any such mention before Nicaea of the Trinitarian God being confessed. That's fine. Are you aware of the Trinitarian God being confessed in the New Testament text?
No, I am not. It is something which has been discussed in theology, principally in these first few hundred years, to come
Hmm.
to a consensus view, orthodoxy. But the thing is that in the first 600-700 years, and of course also later, I mean, there was no report whatsoever, neither by the apostles, neither by the eyewitnesses, neither by Roman historians, that Jesus was not crucified, that it appeared to be so. So this is something which is being claimed by your book 600
Oh,
and something years later. So
really?
why should I believe in a report from your book 600 years later rather than eyewitnesses? And during the
Hmm.
entire Roman
Okay.
history, they didn't come to that claim and that conclusion that it wasn't Jesus that was actually crucified. So why should I believe that story?
Okay. So, everybody, our good friend here just made a claim that none of the apostles, nobody claimed that Jesus was not crucified and that he only appeared to have been crucified. Okay, well, we'll see about that. Let's pull it up here. Here we go. We are in Saint Ignatius of Antioch in his middle and short recension in the letter to the Smyrnaeans. So this is an authentic letter of Saint Ignatius by the consensus of scholarship. We are here, as you can see, Epistle to the Smyrnaeans. This is chapter 1, and this is chapter 2. Christ's true passion. Now, he suffered for all these things for our sakes, that we might be saved. And he suffered truly, even as also he truly raised himself up, not as certain unbelievers maintain that he only seemed to suffer. Is Saint Ignatius here saying that there are some Christians in his time that he thinks are unbelievers that are claiming that Christ only seemed to suffer?
Well, you say that they were Christians. They can just have been unbelievers.
Yeah, he considers them unbelievers. But are they claiming that Jesus did not suffer?
Well, there can always have been people that made that claim, but what I
No,
am saying
no, no,
is,
no, 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 no. You said nobody in the early church, not a single soul, has made this claim until the Quran in the 7th century. We just saw a very early claim from Ignatius, as early as the 1st century, because Ignatius was born in the year 60, okay, or was it 30, or something like that, okay? He died in the year 100 or 110. He is saying that some unbelievers who he considers to be unbelievers, they're obviously Christian because they affirm Christ, so they believe in him. They're just saying that he did not suffer truly. He only seemed to have suffered. So are you going to retract that claim that nobody in the early church has made this claim?
Yeah, I mean, this was gnosis, and they believed that it just appeared that Christ was suffering, but
Can
that
you
in
can you can
reality
can you- can
he
you can
didn't
you prove?
suffer. But they
Yeah.
don't claim that he was not crucified. What they are claiming is that it appeared that he was suffering, but in reality he didn't. This was Gnostic teaching, and I
Can
don't
you
think
can
this
you-
was
can you
proved
prove can
directly.
you prove the group that he's talking about is a Gnostic group? That's just a speculation by scholarship. What's the evidence for that?
I mean, I mean, you are asking me for proofs the whole time,
Yeah,
but where proof?
no, you made a claim. You said these are Docetists, these are Gnostics, this is Celsus. What's the evidence? Just because somebody is claiming that Jesus seemed or appeared to have suffered, you attribute that with later Docetists. But what's the evidence for that? That's just an assumption that scholarship makes. Also,
Yes,
wait 1 second. You said you like the inference to the best possible explanation. Does the Gospel of Q have a passion narrative?
the Gospel of Q? I don't know.
No, it
I don't
doesn't have
know
a
the
passion
Gospel.
narrative. It's as early as Mark, if not earlier. Does Thomas have a passion narrative?
Well, do the Gospels and the New Testament
Just wait.
affirm that Christ
Just
was
wait.
indeed
I didn't say
crucified and
I didn't say it
resurrected?
doesn't. I didn't say it doesn't. Okay, follow me. Does Thomas and Q have a passion narrative?
Well, are these recognized as canonic
I
epistles?
didn't say canonic or non-canonic. Remember, you're a
That's what
historian.
I am
So
asking.
all of a sudden, you're not a historian anymore. You're an evangelical Christian. When you look at history, there is no orthodoxy or unorthodoxy. Okay, there is documents and data. So from the first century, we have Q and we have Thomas. Okay, that is data that we have from early Christianity. Q earlier than any gospel that you have, and Thomas as early as the gospels that you have, around 70 AD. They are free from passion narratives. Now let's use the inference to the best possible explanation. If it was a widely accepted fact that Jesus came, preached about his death, preached about his crucifixion, he went around telling people that he died, that he's going to die, he's going to be crucified for everyone's sins. This was his main goal, and all Christians unanimously agreed about this. Then you agree, we would expect that any Christian community would believe or contain a passion narrative, correct?
Well, what I would say is, and I give you that of course, if you are talking about historical events, there will never be 100% an agreement on what occurred.
It's not what I
I give
asked.
you that.
That's not
But
what I asked.
what I am saying is that the New Testament reports unisono as a whole that Christ was crucified and did
I
resurrect. It is even
okay, you're not with
this
all due
is in
respect.
special
You're not
core
answering
of
my question.
Second Corinthians 15
But you're
of the
not answering
Apostle
the
Paul.
question.
That's the core teaching of the
Okay,
New Testament.
I
So that's the core.
understand.
So well,
I
let
understand
me
that.
finish.
But you didn't
Give me.
answer. No, no.
I
Please,
mean,
you didn't answer. No, no. Please answer. You can speak. That's fine. But you need to answer the question. The question was, according to the principle of the inference to the best possible explanation, would it be surprising and not expected for an early community to not include a passion narrative that believes in Christ?
well, I don't know what the audience was of that gospel. I don't know what the intent was to
It doesn't
write
matter.
this gospel.
That doesn't
I
matter
don't
though.
know. So I am really not concerned about apocryphal writings. I am
It's not.
concerned about the
Oh Lord.
canon, about the
Oh
New
Lord.
Testament, which
Sir,
was written in the first 100 years, maybe, or something like that. Your
Q.
book was written 600 years later. Why should
Oh
I
Lord.
believe in a book?
I did not mention the Quran. I'm mentioning first century documents, sir. And it's not an apocrypha. It's Q. It's a logia. Do you even know what a logia is? What's a logia?
It's Q. It can be whatever it is.
Okay, what's a logia? What's a logia?
Well, listen, I don't know. I'm not a historian. I'm not an expert in
So
these questions. So,
how are you arguing the historicity of the death and resurrection and you don't have a clue about the available data, that you don't even know what Q is?
Q is probably the first gospel upon which all the other four gospels based.
Good. So is it surprising that gospel, according to the principle of inference to the best possible explanation, is it surprising that gospel would be missing a passion narrative?
I don't know if it was lost in history. I don't know the reasons. I've not studied it.
We know the content of Q. It's not, we know it. We know what Q has. It's everything that Matthew and Luke share of the logia of the Lord, of the sayings of Jesus. We know that, and this is posited from from a logical necessity, from the synoptic problem. So we know what Q. So I have Q right here behind me. 1 second. Here we go, right here. This is
so my
Q.
question to you. Okay, so my question to you is this.
No, you're not answering my question. You need to answer my question.
No, I would like to ask you a question as well. So should I put all the four gospels on side, just forget about their reports, also the extra biblical reports about the crucifixion and resurrection, and just stay with you?
We're gonna deal.
What you're saying?
Sure, we're gonna deal with it one by one. Okay, but first, I want you to use the inference to the best possible explanation. I have Q here. This is the reconstruction of Dr. John Kloppenberg of the University of Toronto. Okay, he is the leading scholar on Q studies. There is no passion narrative here. Is that expected or surprising for the earliest Galilean Jewish Christian community to be missing a passion narrative? Yes or no?
I don't know. I've not studied the topic to give you an answer.
You're being dishonest. You're being dishonest.
No, I'm not being dishonest because I've not studied the topic.
Dishonest.
So why should I give an opinion on something which I have not studied?
Have you studied the inference to the best possible explanation? Because that seems like you said you've written so many books, correct? And your argument, your principle is the inference to the best possible explanation. So you know exactly what it is. Okay, the inference to the best possible explanation is when we have one observation and hypotheses. Okay, and we look at the hypotheses and we see which hypotheses or hypothesis best explains the observation. Okay, is it more likely? Just wait. Is it more likely for hypothesis 1 to be true given observation X, or is it unlikely for hypothesis A to be true given hypothesis X? So now use that same principle. We have Q. So wait, let me finish. We have Q. This is the observation. The observation is Q represents the earliest community, the earliest Christian community that we have access to. Okay, whoever composed this. Okay, this earliest Christian community composes a sayings gospel of everything that they thought Jesus said and did. None of it here mentions a death, crucifixion, or resurrection. Now, there is the hypothesis 1. They believe that the most significant teaching is the passion of Christ, and they never included it. Or hypothesis 2, they didn't believe in a passion narrative. Which one is more likely according to the principle? Go ahead.
Okay, so let's put this in the perspective of a broader range. We have 357 prophecies in the Old Testament in regard to the Messiah. We have Psalm 22. We have Isaiah 53, which is very clearly prophesying in regards of the suffering of the Messiah. We have also Daniel 9:24-26, which foresees the precise coming and suffering of the Messiah. We have the New Testament. We have 45 books which testifies it. We have the core message which is in 2 Corinthians 15, which points to the suffering, the crucifixion, and at the third day the resurrection of Jesus. We have extra biblical reports of Christ as a historical figure which died on the cross for our sins. We have an entire belief system during the first 600 years. We have all the testimonies in the New Testament, in the Gospels, which point to that event that Christ came to suffer to pay for our sins on the cross. And you come to me with one book, which is this source Q, and you think it overweights all this evidence.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah,
sorry, but I think this
that's
is
pre
not honest. You
yeah, that
accuse me of not being honest, but I think what you are doing
okay.
is dishonest because you are
Okay.
just taking one source which you don't know why it wasn't included, the Passion of Christ, and just forget all the testimonies of
Okay.
the New
I'm
Testament
not I'm
and
not
say
forgetting.
all this is a lie. It didn't happen.
I'm not
It was
forgetting.
just
I'm not
appearing
I'm
like
not
this.
I'm
And
not
then we
forgetting.
have, and then especially we have the Shroud of Turin, which is the empirical corroboration
Hey, hey, listen.
of the event.
Hey,
So
listen.
I think that I have fully warrant to say that the crucifixion and resurrection is inference of the best
Okay.
explanation based
Okay,
on the
nice. But
wealth of
that is
information
not
and
but
evidence.
that
So
is
please,
not
can
what
I
I
also finish because you were talking? I didn't interrupt you, and
sorry
now
about
I
that.
am
You're
talking,
right.
and you
You're right. You're right.
continue
You're
to
right. You're
interrupt.
right. You're correct. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay, so I am sorry, but if you are accusing me of being dishonest, I am showing you that I have plenty of reasons to believe that the event of the crucifixion and the resurrection of Jesus is fully backed up by all these things which I just mentioned. And just because there is a source Q which we don't have enough knowledge to understand, if it was lost part of the Passion or whatever, I've not studied it, so I don't know. Just because of that, claiming, oh, the Quran is true, therefore it was written 600 years later. I am sorry, but I don't think you are being coherent in regards of what you are claiming.
Yeah, so I didn't say because the Quran, that's you. Guys, did I mention the Quran once? Not a single time. I mentioned early Christian documents. That's number one. Number two, you are assuming Jesus fulfills 300 prophecies because that's an evangelical talking point. As a matter of fact, your Messiah is a failed Messiah who does not fulfill any prophecies. Rather, he's a failed Messiah. He's a dead and rising Savior man God, which is the exact opposite of the messianic prophecies that are here. Isaiah chapter 2, Isaiah chapter 11, Ezekiel, okay? All of these clear prophecies, Jeremiah chapter 33, all of these clear prophecies show that your Jesus that you believe in, your conception of him, is a failed Messiah because he died on a cross. Number one. So you're gonna need to prove that any 300 prophecies took place. You're not gonna be able to. That's a non sequitur. Number one. Number two, that has nothing to do with what I asked. Nothing. Now I want you to answer in my time what I asked. Given Q and that the observation is that there is no passion narrative, what is the best possible explanation between the two hypotheses that I gave? That they believed in a passion, and for some reason, they forgot to include the most significant teaching of Christ, or they didn't believe in a passion as you believe it. What's the best possible explanation?
Yeah, as I told you before, I've not heard this argument before, so it's the first time I'm hearing it. Since I've not studied it, I cannot give you a
Oh my God.
qualified opinion on what you are asking me, but I'm using routinely ChatGTP to ask these questions, and here is the answer to your question. Okay, Q, short
ChatGPT.
Quelle in German, is a hypothetical document reconstructed by
Oh my.
scholars to explain the shared material found in Matthew and Luke, but absent in Mark. Q contains mostly sayings of Jesus, very little to no narrative, no birth story, no death, resurrection story. So, because there is no birth story, the birth of Christ didn't happen, then why no passion narrative in Q? Q is a sayings collection, not a biography. Q is not a gospel in the narrative
Oh my Lord.
sense. It
Oh my Lord.
resembles Jewish wisdom texts.
I am not asked. Oh my Lord.
Well,
Are
why
you
aren't you
seriously using?
interrupting me?
All right,
Why
sorry.
are you interrupting
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. Again, I had to mute you this time. You're muted. Nobody can hear you. This guy is reading, telling us what Q is from ChatGPT.
Why are
brother,
you laughing? Why are you laughing?
I did
Why
not.
are you laughing and why are you
Listen.
muting me?
O
Why
Tangela,
are you muting me? Because
just listen
I
to me,
am giving you the best answer from experts, which is
brother,
what
brother.
ChatGPT
Yeah,
is giving.
uncle,
And
listen,
you
just
are
listen to me.
just
I'm not.
closing your ears and muting me and interrupting me.
That
I am
wasn't a
sorry, but
question.
I mean,
That
you are
wasn't. I didn't
passionate, we
ask. Oh my
understand that,
goodness.
but you should grant
I
more
didn't
time
ask you
without
that.
interrupting
Why are
to
you
your
telling me
opponent
what you? Oh
rather
my
than
God.
interrupting them.
May Allah give
I'm
me patience.
sorry, but you misrespect to your guests because you to talk and talk and talk, we listen and we want to respond, then you interrupt. And you've not done that one and two times, but several times. So I would really appreciate if you could grant more time for your opponents to respond. Thank you.
All right, you done? Thank you. For the fourth time, I did not ask you to give me a breakdown of Q. I did not tell you to tell me what is Q. You don't have to know what it is. You don't have to study it. That's not what I asked. I asked you, given that said document does not contain the crucifixion and resurrection, aka the passion of Christ, according to the principle that you are using, which is the inference to the best possible explanation, which hypothesis best explains the observation? I made my question very, very clear. Again, I'm not asking you to be an expert of Q. I'm not asking you to know what Q is in detail. Not asking that. Not asking you to give me a brief idea of what Q is. I'm asking you, what is the best possible explanation to said observation? Is it hypothesis one, that they did believe in the passion, yet for some reason, somehow, being the main purpose and the most significant teaching, they didn't include it? Or they didn't believe in it and that's why they didn't include it? Go ahead.
Well, I am very, very satisfied with ChatGPT's answer, which I didn't know. As I told you, I didn't study the topic, and it was very clear. It doesn't contain the birth of Jesus. It is not a biography of Jesus. It
Oh,
is about his sayings. So that was the goal, precisely what I didn't know. Now I have the answer. And I'm thanking you because I always learn with my opponents. I just learned something. So I mean, your argument
I didn't
is
ask.
just void because that was not the goal of Q to give a biography of Jesus, but just to report the sayings of Jesus. So you have no argument left. Now, again, I have here an entire whole New Testament. I have the Old Testament, which points to the Messiah. I have Jesaja 53, Psalm 22. I have very precise prophecies when Jesus would come, and he fulfilled these prophecies. He died on the cross. That's entirely the message of the New Testament, which was reported by the eyewitnesses that he indeed was crucified and did resurrect. And I'm sorry, but I don't see any reason why I should deny that because of your source Q.
Okay. So again, no answer. Brother, uncle, my brother in humanity. I did not ask you that question. You keep telling me what Q is. And you said, well, it's not a narrative. Okay, so that refutes your mention of the virgin birth. So if it's not a narrative, then it won't include the virgin birth. That's number one. Explanation number two, that's the best possible explanation, is that they didn't believe in a virgin birth. I have no problem granting that. Just like the Ebionites rejected the virgin birth, and some of them, like Eusebius says, and Origen says, that some of them accepted a virgin birth. Okay, so I could grant you that they didn't include it because they didn't believe in it. No problem, but that goes against you. So now, sir, just because it doesn't include the the narrative doesn't mean that it's not going to include the sayings during the passion. So does Jesus speak during the passion, and does he predict his own passion in his logia? Go ahead.
Well, at the last uh, well,
Mhm.
before he started the passion, he said clearly that his blood would be shed for the forgiveness of sins.
There
Right.
we go. So why
So,
isn't it included? Thank you.
well, again, this is something which doesn't include a lot of other things. And as far as I know, your book does
Oh my
actually not deny the virgin birth of
oh my
Jesus,
God.
which is actually also something very interesting.
Am I
Wha- if Muhammad is superior to Christ, which is what
oh
I
Lord.
think you believe, then how is it that Jesus was born by a virgin and that he made all the miracles that he did, that he was sinless while Muhammad was not sinless, and then uh,
First of all, Jesus, we don't believe that Jesus is sinless. Okay. We believe all the prophets had shortcomings. So Jesus and the prophet are similar. So just because you're not answering my question and you're strawmanning, I didn't say I reject the virgin birth. I said, according to the inference of best possible explanation, they don't include a virgin birth either because they didn't believe it was significant or they rejected it or because it's not a sayings gospel. I can give you reasons that explain the observation that are likely. It doesn't mean that I have to agree with them because I obviously accept the virgin birth. But you're not answering why they don't include, if they're early Christians and they believe Jesus came and predicted his passion and spoke through his passion, and that was the most important thing of his life. Why did they not include it? You did not answer, but it's okay. We'll let that go. You said that Jesus being born of a virgin makes him superior. Well, that's arbitrary. Um, that's fine. Um, is in the Quran, is Isaac born miraculously?
let me just ask here,
No, no,
ChatGPT,
no, no, no.
in
Answer,
regards
please.
of your
Chat
claim
GPT.
that
Oh
the
Lord.
Quran says Jesus was not sinless. Does the Quran claim that
Oh
Jesus
Lord.
was
There's no way.
sinless? Okay, let
There's
me
no
check
way.
here.
There's no way. There's no way. Are
Yes,
you
the
seriously
Quran
using ChatGPT?
implicitly, okay, here is the answer. Yes, the Quran implicitly and explicitly presents Jesus, Isa, as sinless
Bring
in
the
a way
verse.
that is
Bring the
distinct
verse.
from
Bring the
all
verse.
other human
Bring the
beings,
verse. Bring the
including
verse.
other prophets. Here the verse,
Bring the
Surah
verse. Yeah.
Maryam 19:19. He said, I am
Ghulaman Zakiya.
only a... Wow, why are you
I
constantly
just
talking
recited
without
it. I know what you're
answering
gonna
your
recite.
question?
I know the verse. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
you know the verse, but you are
Go ahead.
interrupting me again.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Just read
I
it.
mean, did
Read
I
it. Just enjoy
interrupt you
yourself.
while you were talking? Yes or no?
Because you're not answering. You're just I don't know what you're doing. But
Yeah,
anyways,
you
go ahead.
you say all the time that I'm not answering. Well, I actually did answer. It was in my first answer that I gave you through ChatGTP that the Q does just report sayings. It wasn't a biography
And
of
there are
Jesus.
passion
That's
sayings.
why are you interrupting me
There are
again?
passion
Why
sayings.
are you interrupting me again?
Can you just read the
Why
verse?
are
Just
you
read the verse.
interrupting me again? Are you
I'm
not
getting bored. Just
disciplined
read the verse.
enough to have a nice conversation where I have chance to respond without being interrupted?
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
Just read the
this
verse.
entire interaction, I've been constantly being interrupted while I have listened carefully to your arguments, and I've not interrupted you. So, if you can grant to your guests as well the same kindness that I am trying to give to you, I would really appreciate it.
Okay, Unc, just get to it. Thank you. Get to it. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, your accusation that
What,
I'm not answering your question
what's the
is
verse?
simply false.
What's the
Wow,
verse? We just want the
wow.
verse. Just read the verse. Just read it. Just read the verse.
There are several. Surah Maryam 19:19, he said, I am only a messenger of your Lord to give you a pure boy.
Pure boy. Wow. Pure. How does that mean he's sinless?
Nowhere is he rebuked, nor does he ask for forgiveness, unlike Muhammad in Surah 47:19,
Mm,
48:2, Adam Surah 2:33, Moses
yeah.
and Jonah, who all express error and repentance. This absence is notable, given how often other prophets are portrayed in weakness and error. So
Where does John the Baptist ask for forgiveness in the Quran?
I'm sorry.
Where does John the Baptist ask for forgiveness in the Quran? And yes, by the way, Jesus does ask for forgiveness according to the Gospel of Matthew, according to the Gospel of Mark, according to Luke. In the Lord's Prayer, he says, Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, your kingdom come, your will be done in heaven as it is on earth. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us for our transgression, just like we forgive those who transgress against us. So according to you, Jesus does ask for forgiveness. That's number one. Number two, many other prophets don't ask for forgiveness in the Quran. It doesn't mean that they have not made mistakes.
Yeah, this is a clear misrepresentation because they asked Jesus how to pray. So he gave that prayer as an example how we should pray. So
Does he
we
ask for
are
forgiveness?
sinful. So we are sinful. So we should ask for
Yeah.
forgiveness.
So in
So forth.
doing so,
Wow, I'm interrupted again.
amen, amen. Hey,
I'm
brother,
trying
brother.
to
All right, all
respond to
right.
you.
Hey, stop. This is not the Otangelo show. We're having a conversation. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bro, we're having a conversation, man. I can't like butt in. I can't respond. Like, come on, man. You just want to ramble on and on and on and not answer questions. Like, come on, man. What the hell is going on? This guy is using ChatGPT to talk to me.